example that you gave of Josh.
I want to tell the story about Josh, because he shared this when I was there observing a lesson for fidelity of implementation.
Share who Josh is.
He was the facilitator for the research project that we did in Massachusetts. We identified the most significantly at-risk students in the school. I think maybe 2 out of the 10 or 11 kids had IEPs. The rest of them were just kids that were at risk, that had trouble. Truancy, inappropriate behavior, failing classes. Academic failure was the universal key that encouraged the students to be in the program. But majority of them had just behaviors that were repetitive and interfered with them being successful and being a part of that school community. So we pulled all those kids together, and Josh did the instruction, and he taught for a year with these students. And we took a lot of data before and afterwards. It was a research project. So I went for fidelity checks to ensure that the program was doing what we had intended and that he was teaching it the way in which we intended. And also because teaching metacognitively, moving ourselves as educators from the sage on the stage to the guide on the side sometimes takes some coaching and redirection.
Absolutely.
We want to do telling because that's been our experience, instead of that probing or questioning that is really the skill that will help bring the students along.
Right, and that's really important to remember to, if you're going to say something, stop yourself and ask a question instead of making a statement. But the out loud thinking part is also really important to modeling the behaviors that you want the student to exhibit and internalize.
So let me tell Josh's story that he shared. Josh has 3 little girls in his house, preschool, kindergarten, 1st grade, little ones. And so you imagine their house is quite busy. He explains that between his wife and the 3 girls, he is totally outnumbered. So when it comes to getting ready for school in the morning and getting everybody out the door, his strategy has been yelling, stomping through the house, going out to the car and honking the horn.
Can we relate?
And having little success, just seeming to accelerate it, put gas on the fire, if you will, because the girls were already running around. It was chaotic, and he was making it worse. He was in the car honking, and he thought, this is not working. He actually stepped back, and he thought, this isn't getting what I want. I want everybody to have a calm, cool, collected morning. All of us get to where we're supposed to be, and I have time for a cup of coffee before my teaching day begins. Mm-hmm. So he was telling the children, the students in his class this, that he went back and thought, I do know what to do. I know how to look at my own behavior and how my behavior influences everybody else. I can't change anybody else, but I certainly can change what I'm doing.
That's that self-direction. Yeah.
So Josh stopped, thought about, what's my goal? Everybody out of the house in a calm manner, no tears, and to be honest, everybody have all their clothes on, because he said there were times that they had to go with put shoes and socks on in the car because the kids weren't ready. So his goal was for everybody to get to work in a calm manner, ready to meet the day and have a successful day. So he stopped and said, this isn't working. I need to think about my behavior. So he did some self-correction. He asked those questions. Am I following a procedure that will get me what I want? No. So then he had to stop and think, how do I fix this mess? He did a correction. He went back in the house. He actually told the students that in the car he practiced. He did that verbal rehearsal of practicing, what am I going to say and how am I going to say it? He talked himself through it. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's the outcome I hope for. Here's, if this happens, I'll do this. He practiced it. Mm-hmm. So then he went in and he actually talked to his daughters and his wife in a calm manner of, here's my goal. Here's what I'd like to see happen. In 3 minutes, I'd like to see everybody downstairs eating. Can that happen? In a calm tone, with some of the strategies that are more likely to work with 3 little girls running around the house. Mm-hmm. he was able to get everybody together and out and through.
Right.
So even though he's a teacher with a lot of experience, has taught for a number of years, has advanced degrees, he still told the students in the class that day I was there, he practiced the skills. He did self-direct, self-monitor, self-correct, self-evaluation. He practiced some of the strategies that he was encouraging them to do as well.
Self-talk, positive self-talk, and verbal rehearsal.
Some out loud thinking. He talked through what happened. And by him telling the story to the students, he was able to give them an opportunity to hear how it works, to practice themselves. It was
And also by labeling the behaviors and saying, letting them understand what each of the types of learning strategies, metacognitive learning strategies were, and performance techniques, he was able to help them raise that to a level of consciousness so they're able to then generalize those behaviors in their own lives.
But the bottom line is, he changed his behavior.
Right.
He didn't tell other people what
Right,
they should
and
be
that's
doing.
really important.
He changed his behavior, and it affected the outcome of the entire situation. And guess what? At the end of the day, he got what he wanted.
And he modeled the strategies for the
Right.
students with that example right there.
The out loud thinking modeling. He was actually modeling how to use it in his own personal life.
Exactly.
The guide, the actual program provides many examples of this kind of out loud thinking.
The facilitator's manual.
Right, so that the facilitator doesn't have to necessarily share their own personal experience, although that's much more powerful with students. When you do that with students, they feel your ownership of it, they feel closer to you, and they feel like they understand and can do it more effectively. That's been my experience with students.